use this as a working
Don't
class.
open.
In other words, don't try and correct your files as we do this. This is an overview of how to do it because we're going to cover a lot of ground.
Okay. And that's what they recommend. And the other thing is, you've done it enough. This is going to click in your head. You're going to think, I did not do that.
Right.
Promise you. You're going to say, oh.
Thank you, ma'am. This is exactly what I thought.
Oh.
All right, some others in these.
And if we don't get it right, I'm gonna let everybody pinch it on compliance review for a week each, and you will get it right. You'll figure it out. Oh, dude. Dee said to me one day, I need to she said several months ago, Dee said one day, she said, you know, you must be getting a better on Dotland. I hadn't heard you up down the hall complaining, but
Now they're personal emails.
So while I'm setting this up, the one thing that I really want to emphasize about, yes, one of the things I really want to emphasize about this whole system, the dot loop everything, is pretty much, when you think of dot loop, really what you need to be thinking about is the same paper file you keep the rest of your stuff in. This is nothing more than a file. It's just a virtual file and not a paper file. Does that make sense? Does everybody know what I'm saying when I say that?
Should I chime in?
Yes.
It starts when you get started on the property. Like if Belinda's got it listed and I sell it, well, my loop starts with my buyer agency agreement contract. Hers starts with the working with real estate agents, the listing agreement goes through to the HUD. She's got to have the contract and everything in there too, and that's what people are not putting in. It's like if it's your listing, it's got to have all the contracts up in it.
Right. So this is nothing more than a virtual file cabinet. Think of it that way. It's a virtual file cabinet, and every loop you create is essentially a folder that's going in your virtual file cabinet for a specific property. Or if it's a buyer, up until you find them a property, it's going to be a specific file for a buyer. So just think of it as a paper file, however, it's virtual in our world instead of a paper. And if you want to keep a paper one, that's great. You can do that too. However, this is the one that's going to allow us to get paid when we have this one correct. So, so the broker in charge can review the documents and approve everything. So, and I'm going to start from the most basic. So, everyone knows here, this is how you get to Dotloop, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you can start new transactions. You can go to the home if you're searching for a transaction. You can go to just listing, or you can go to just buyer transactions.
I got everything.
It's okay. We're not. It's not a working session. I'm going to do everything up here as a demo.
Okay.
And then I'm going to show how to do a file complete. I'm going to show it with, if you need to make corrections while you're inside of a file. I'll do one that, in other words, we'll put duplicate files in there. So,
my suggestion is let one of them bring up a file if they don't mind being really big, and let us show you how to get it straight, because that's what most of them are faced with.
right. Yeah. And we can do that at the end. The first thing I'm going to do is walk through a new client. So you've got a new, and we'll do a buyer first. You got a new buyer client, right? Mr. and Miss John Doe are coming here from Idaho. And you need to set up a file for Mr. and Mrs. John Doe. And like I said, this is just your virtual file cabinet. So you're going to go in here to your buyer transactions. And one of the things that's most important that we get from this class today is that there needs to be standards for our files. So if you've got a virtual file cabinet in your office, you're not going to have one file named 123 Any Street, and then you're going to have the next one behind it, Any Street, John Smith. You know, there's going to be consistency throughout. So that's one of the important things that you do. So we're adding a new buyer loop. This is somebody that just came in from Idaho today, so they don't have a specific property. They're a new buyer. So we're going to name them last name first, comma,
That's the way I like it.
other name.
Last name.
If it's two people, it can be last name, comma, John and Jane Doe. If you're just working with John, last name, comma, John.
Really doesn't matter.
Doe, comma,
When
John.
you say it doesn't matter that much to me because you're going to rename the loop once you get them under contract. But, I mean, yeah,
Comma, name. So we need a standard. That way, because when you're filtering by name, you have to be able to, on your end, you're going to have to be able to look alphabetically for a name. Okay? If we're at a point where there's a contract not written yet and something comes up and we need to review the file. So we're going to start with with Doug, and we got John and Jane. Everybody, what we just did, if this were a paper world, we just pulled the file out and we wrote across the top of it, Doug, comma, John, and Jane. Now we're going to physically get those documents that we need and we're going to stick them into that file. So we go here with a buyer. We're fortunate.
I'm gonna add the people in the entities first.
Yes, we don't have a property yet.
Oh,
We don't have a property yet. This is a buyer.
You're working with the
Yeah,
buyer.
this is a buyer. So we're going to go to our templates. Oh, sorry, that's not set up with our radio
I was wondering
documents.
about that. No killer plan.
Also, you have to add the association.
Sorry.
You minus me, I already have like a little setup.
Or you can plug in me. I've got lots of problems to demonstrate.
I'm going to take us back where we just were really quickly.
Okay.
What you got, Lisa?
Lisa Collins. Oh, everyone knows my password. That wasn't.
This really open here though. I didn't even remember my Dropbox.
It doesn't matter if you're not just like close. What he says,
you need to learn this.
All right, so I'm taking us right back when we were creating buyer transaction, which is creating our file. Okay. Create a loop. Okay, we're back to where we were. Everybody still with me? We just created our John and Jane Doe file. Now you're going to go in here and choose from a template. Lisa's already gone in and put the standard documents for each transaction in here. So we're going to go to KW Buyer Forms. Okay? And there's the typical form that you'll have in a buyer transaction. And it's okay to go ahead and, you can go ahead and stick the offer to purchase into the file because you know you're going to need it at some point in the future. and you'll just fill it out at that point in the future. So you can go ahead and select the typical files that you need to have in there, the typical documents that you're going to have. So
If you do that, you're gonna have to move them, so. You're gonna have to move them, because they don't go into your fire folder. They go to your contract.
into your contract.
Well, but you do have to provide a sample of the operating
Yeah.
program, so I just usually send it from there.
That's good, because I'll show you what to do.
Now let me ask the question, that acknowledgement of monies, that's just for due diligence money, right? No, it's
It's due diligence
Yeah.
money and, additional earnest money.
Right, additional earnest
so not original, not just on.
the original earnest money will be signed for on the
Right.
actual home purchase.
Right.
So, wait a minute, let's stop right there. So we need to fill out this form now? Which one? That one?
Receipt of earnest monies, receipt of additional monies, if you have due diligence or additional earnest money.
But if you don't have it, you don't have it.
If you don't have it, you don't fill it out.
Right. It must be have to do.
Well, due diligence is on the contract.
I haven't gotten that far yet, have you? I haven't been doing that. Oh, you are, working with real estate and our agency, right?
Okay.
I
So,
just
every-
wanted to know about that.
so everybody clear with where we are now? These are the typical documents that you're gonna have, so, and then to fill these out, you're gonna go into your working with real estate agents. Or, as Lisa said, you can go in here and edit details, and you can put in all the details of the transaction. It's really your choice. This is an either or. If you want to do this, you can go in. You can add in the brokerage information, your license information. I'll do this on the listing side always, on the buyer side, I don't always do it unless I already know, a lot of the details. I'll just go and tab through and fill in the blanks as I fill out the document. It's your choice. You can do it either way. If you know who they're going to be using for a mortgage because they're already pre-approved, you can put that in there. Really, the only things you would use prior to identifying the property is going to be you're not going to have a listing brokerage. A referral if you've got it. Home warranty if they're going to do it. Your buying brokerage. So you can go in there and put Keller Williams Realty, office phone number, and then pre-populate as you do your fields. But that's really the only thing.
I
you
would
use
go ahead and
details.
do that because it populates your contract, your offer of purchase when you do it. You
Right.
don't have to, so many times I get that last page, it's not filled out, this is populated, so I would do it.
So you would just go in here and fill them in, office phone. Street number.
This is gonna be a joint effort.
Stop me at any time if you have any questions. Save that now as you go through and do your documents. In the future, when you go to do your offer to purchase, all your buying brokerage information is going to be in there. Back to Okay, does anybody need me to walk through and actually fill out working with real estate agents, or is everybody clear on how to do that? Okay,
Just page 4, just the name broker.
Might be a good time to show them how to send it for signature.
Yeah.
okay.
A lot of them.
So we'll fill this one in because it's one of the short ones to fill. So you go in here, you'll have your buyer, there'll be a contact in there, John Doe, and Jane Doe. If you don't have it in there, here's where you do it. John Doe.
Use my email address.
Is there an app for .loop?
Yes, or mentioned it yesterday.
But I think it was just that, wasn't it? I don't know, I'm sure.
Okay, so once you've got them in there, then you assign them as the buyers,
Put your name in there, sorry.
as buyer agents. So
Put
let's
that
get
in
that
there.
step. Let's get that step.
Is there a sample?
We want to see how it populates it. You know.
So it's populating Keller Williams Realty.
That's the sample.
Had you put your name in there, it would populate here. When showing you property and assisting you in the purchase of the property, below, the agent firm will represent the seller. Okay? When should you initial that?
You're not supposed to initial unless you're working for that seller. Meaning, you're the buyers, you're working with the buyer, but you're not, you're actually representing the seller.
They haven't signed an exclusive buyer agency.
You're not under agency agreement with them.
So this is.
If you do not have a buyer agency agreement, you represent the seller, period.
Right.
Right?
Well,
You
you
can
don't
be
until the
part of
time you write the, offer to get it filled out, but you have to have that discussion, and you have to have an acknowledgement from them that they will allow you to work as their buyer's agent, and I recommend you do it by email or follow it up by email.
So
Based on our conversation today, and filling out working with real estate agents, I want to be clear that it is our understanding that I will work for you as a buyer's agent, and you will exclusively with the properties with me until, whatever. But yeah, you don't have to fill it out, but my recommendation is you go ahead and fill it out, because people will definitely get you. And y'all know that, everybody's been paying attention.
When do you ever sign that box?
Well, if somebody wants you to go out and show them a property, and you haven't even discussed agency with them or whatever, you need to get them to sign that box, because you are not a buyer's agent when you cross that threshold unless you got that buyer's agent agreement signed. You would have to either be a dual agent or a sub-agent of the seller, and you wouldn't be a dual agent unless you had a buyer agency agreement signed.
But you sign that box.
No, you
As
sign
an
that
agent.
box. Now, that can change, but you can't change back if you sell them that property.
Oh, wait,
My suggestion is, don't ever initial that box.
well, I never
And
knew.
do you know a good way to not to ever have to initial that box?
It's our agency.
Don't
with
show
some-
property without an agreement in place.
But if
That's
you
my
do-
suggestion.
if you
I
do-
know there are some that do, but it's my suggestion that you don't do that.
Well, if somebody calls you and wants to see your listing, you're not gonna get a buyer agency agreement before you show it to them. You will be bobbing out there, at least I am. I got a chance to show my listing, I'm not gonna go.
That's everybody's individual choice.
Well, I already represent the seller, so if I don't show a buyer the property, I haven't represented the seller, so
So, and I do that a lot. I show my listings a lot to anybody that'll go in there. So,
So would you initial that box then, or what box would you initial?
that's what I'm asking, because I
That's what
have
you
not, I have not ever clicked on it.
Well, when we talked the other day, I told you to have some of these already printed
Right,
out.
I
in
didn't
your
realize
license.
it meant that block.
Yeah, but you can sign it right when you get out there.
What if I just signed it for all of them and then changed it to somebody? I mean,
Let me ask you a question. If you're jumping up and showing a potential buyer your seller's listing, When you meet them, are you gonna explain that you're gonna be a dual agent, or are you gonna explain that you're gonna be a sub-agent of the seller?
I would go ahead and share the property and be a sub-agent of the seller. That's what I would do. I just think it's a personal choice. I've done it that way always, and I always
Give them the three choices. I just tell them that these are the three ways that you can have an agent, and you sign this saying, I told you that.
And then
That's
you
all.
know it.
So I didn't know.
But you haven't defined yourself as one of those agents.
nobody's gonna sit there and make working with real estate agents brochure before we go in the house.
Well, after.
When I tell them, when I'm showing, I tell them, here's the three options. Seller's agent, that's what I am, until you ask me to be a buyer's agent. Buyer's agent, and I work for the seller. I'm not gonna take anything the seller wants me to keep to myself. Buyer's agent, same. Dual agent, I'm sitting on the fence, can't tell you either one of them. So they understand, you know, the difference.
Here's my repercussions for signing that box as sub-agent of the seller. What else should you tell them if you're having them sign that box? You don't tell them anything?
We don't sign it.
Should you tell them, is that what you said?
Yeah, what else should you tell them? If you're gonna represent the seller, if you're gonna sign that box,
If
be a
it's only
sub-agent of the seller,
seller,
what
then you need to have a
what-
buyer's agent.
what should you tell that person?
Don't
Don't
tell
tell
me.
me anything that you.
That's all.
That's it.
That's all.
Do not give me any information you do not want me to tell the seller. If I'm a sub-agent of the seller, I just want you to know, please do not share any information with me you don't want the seller to know in case you like this house and you want to make an offer. I don't want to use that box,
Well, I don't sign.
but it's everybody's personal choice. Anyway, it's there, you can do it, just be careful that you correctly represent your position to every client you're faced with in that scenario. Okay, so you get all this signed, you've got them, they're ready to sign here. You got everything done, everything's filled out, you're good to go. So when you hit save, then when you go back to the loop, it's going to ask you, would you like to share it?
No.
You can hit no or you can hit yes. If you're doing this one document, you can hit yes and it's a shortcut and you can go ahead and share it. If you're going to share more than one document, you can hit no, you can go back and check multiple documents and send them all at one time. It's a choice thing. Everybody good on that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we've done that. We've shown them 4 houses. Actually, these were great clients. We showed them 2 houses, and they found one that they just loved. And it's 123 Any Street, Greenville, North Carolina. So at this point, we're going to go back into this file, and we're going to start filling out. Hopefully, you've already got that filled out. If you don't, you need to fill it out now. You could be working on a verbal buyer agency, however you have to reduce it to writing at the time of offer. So hopefully, you've already got that. But you're going to go in, and we don't need to go through and fill these out, do we?
No.
But
Okay.
you need to get them in the right folder.
You get them in the right folder. So, but the first thing we're going to do is we've identified the property. So the very first thing you do when you come back in here is you want to rename the loop to the name of the property. And that's just as easy as clicking it twice. And then we're going to name it 123 Any Street, Greenville, NC 27858. This is what every title should look like. Everyone should have the address, the city, the state, and the zip code. Do it at that time when you're ready to make it. Everybody good on that? Okay. Don't keep it buyer's name. As soon as you identify the property, you go right to offer. You want to make it that property address, because then it's going to be associated with that address. Now, should this deal fall through and your buyer have another property they want to do,
Change the address.
you're going to create a new loop under a new address.
but that was my question, because I did that, and I changed the name of an existing loop because the deal fell through. But then it continued when I emailed them, it continued to be the old address.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I had changed the information,
You
it
need to
still.
create a new loop,
Create
and there's a
another
couple of
loop.
reasons for that. You need to keep the documents from the previous one that didn't work out, because it doesn't mean that you don't still need to keep those documents for 3 years.
Right.
So you have to create a new loop under the old address and archive the old loop.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Is there any harm in putting the buyer's name behind the address? Saying 27858 and dash John J. Doe?
Yes.
Please say no, please say no.
Yes.
They all run
Listen,
together.
I'm telling you,
They all run
I've had
together.
2 this month. I can't keep straight to save my life. I get mixed up with who's in what house.
I mean, here's how I feel with Brother George. The essential thing is to have that on there. I don't care what's after it, but that's how I want it named, because that's how I'm gonna search for it.
If
Most
nobody
of the time
else
when I'm
is
searching for it, I might just have the 1, 2, 3, and I go 1, 2, 3 and pick up everything in 1, 2, 3. But I just want to be able to search that parameter right there. Now, I don't care. If you care, that's different, but it doesn't matter to me.
Well,
I don't see anything wrong with it.
it doesn't matter, I'm sure. What's it gonna hurt?
What did you already say? If you listen,
But it's supposed to be standard.
It needs to be uniform. Everything needs, we need to have a standard that's uniform. Well, let me ask you, this is the office, this is the firm's file cabinet.
Yes.
Would you keep a file cabinet in your office that had files labeled 44 different ways? Or
No,
would
I
you
don't
want
have-
it all consistent all the way through? And I don't mean that as to be a bad thing, it's just providing clarity. As an office, we need continuity throughout the system. Does that make sense? That's why it's important. It's for continuity for the office itself. Okay? It's not to make anybody's life harder or make it more difficult. It just gives us some continuity all the way through the process.
how about like, how about like just the last name? I know.
Well, I don't see what it is. If I had a folder in my file cabinet, I would write 1, 2, 3, West Street, Richmond, North Carolina, and then a pencil, I'd write
Exactly.
right beside it. So
You would do that in your file.
And then, I
You might want to keep them by name only and not by address. And then if everybody did their own thing, then we would end up with 44 different formats for how we keep up with
I
files
get
as an
that.
office. So this is not to punish anybody, this is not punitive, this is just a standard that we need to put in place so we've got continuity from start to finish.
She's right.
Yes, ma'am.
That file, isn't that file currently mine until I get done with it?
No, it's yours even after you're done.
All right, well, I'd like to put my name on it so I can, maybe I'm old enough to forget which property belongs to who. That's
Okay.
what I have to do.
Can I make a suggestion that I think might be a win-win for both of us?
Yeah.
Is if you were to keep a running tally of who your buyers are, or maybe on a spreadsheet, and have the address with the buyer's name beside it, then you've got a quick reference to go back to. And then on the firm side, we have continuity all the way through.
You know,
Like I
why?
said, it's not meant to be punitive, it's just so we have continuity from start to finish.
Well,
It's real important.
I'm not, I don't do this.
When you get your loops cleaned up, you're gonna see them. When you pull up your loops, your whole loop thing, you're gonna recognize it. You might not be able to say it, but you'll recognize it. If that's the way we're gonna do it, I mean, like I said, it didn't make that much
Well, that's
difference. As long as
I
it's
don't know. We just give it.
But,
Well,
Will you-
I'm sorry if this is not what you prefer to do. It's going to provide continuity through the firm, and it's something that we just need to do.
yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So,
But once you get them cleaned up, you'll see that 1, 2, 3, any street, and you will know that's the one, I mean, that you're looking for. Now, if you had to pop it out of your head, you won't. But once your loops are cleaned up, then you pull up your loops, you'll see it.
You can see the name right away, as soon as you pull the loop back
Well, you
up.
won't recognize the address, I expect.
Well, my problem is I don't recognize the address.
Well, when you do the address, just go down to the people.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm
People
asking.
are, they're people.
Yeah, if you
People
do
are right here.
people, it's gonna tell you who your clients are,
Okay.
but it don't tell you.
Or you can even do it, you can even go up to your search field and type in the last name and it's still.
That's right. That's right. You can search it. That's a great point, Listen. You can search it by, when you're back in all your loops, you can search by your client name.
Okay.
And it'll pull up the loops that are associated with it.
Yeah, that's your solution.
Not only that, I hope this doesn't confuse things, but this is what I do and I prefer is broken charts that you do. If you have got John and Jane Doe and you made an offer on the property and you got to file title there, I don't want to change the title, I want to keep that file. Then you can take your working with real estate agents and buyer agency agreement and move it into your other file.
Yeah, we just said
But
that.
any offer that is made, keep the file on it.
Right, that's right. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
If your deal doesn't work out, you need to create a new loop and keep the old loop. You don't rename the file. We don't rename the file to a new address.
That's right.
You take that file, you archive it.
And you can,
Because we're required
you
to
can use
keep
the
them
same
for 3
buyer
years.
agency agreement, though,
And
just print it
Right,
out, scan
and
it
you
in.
can transfer it over to another loop, right? You can download it, you can copy it, there's many ways to do it. And you just want to create a new loop under the new address and just assign the same buyers to the new loop.
And you
Yes, ma'am.
copy those documents to the new loop.
I have a question.
Okay?
If you're doing a loop with another agent in our office, like I've got 2 of those right now, and I've got one from Belinda, for example, then I have mine because I'm a listing agent, and then I've got one with Jesse where he's a listing agent and I represent the buyer. So I've got 4 loops in there, even though I'm only working with 2, but there's 4 on my stuff.
Right.
How do you merge them?
Okay. You can merge the loops at the bottom with the documents. And here's another why it's really important to have continuity in the names.
Well, they're the same name, both of them.
Exactly. And when you merge them, there's no shuffling or figuring out how to name it. You see what I'm saying? You're going to go right to that property address and you're going to merge the 2 together. It's going to work seamlessly. And we'll go over and do that.
We can do mine on there. I don't
Okay.
care because I tried to merge it because I followed the directions and it says, and it can't be done. And it can't be done. It pretty much does.
Just get Lorraine.
Exactly.
Well, if you run into it,
I'm not dumb. I should be able to know how to do it. It's something not working for me, so I'm
Yeah.
getting something wrong.
well, we're going to cover all that. We're going to cover as much ground as we can today on all of that. And if you ever run into an individual problem like that, like where you have a specific file that won't merge, just come see me or Mom, and we'll figure it out.
Well,
We'll help you figure it out.
and there again, I'm not trying to confuse the issue, but I prefer that each agent have their own file and keep their own file right to the end, not merge 2 agents' files together, even though it's the same property. Just have, and I've got several like that.
And I don't see where there's a problem with that either.
There is not a problem
Yeah.
doing it that way.
You
It's
keep
better.
your file, he keeps his file.
That's just better. It's better.
Okay, that's fine. Then it's like 4 files in my loop. See what I'm saying? I've got the buyer, then Jesse's got the seller, and that's two loops. Then I got another set of loops. I got the listing, then Belinda's got the buyer, and that's 2 more loops.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you want me to leave it? that way?
Because you're associated in the loop.
Just be sure that in your loop, you got from when you came on board until you got the HUD statement. Now, if you're listing, you got to go all the way through with the contract. If you're the buyer's agent, you start with the working real estate agent, buyer agency agreement, and then the contract, and then the closing. But when you get on board the loop, you got to have your file complete to the end.
As a matter of fact, I think they need to be separate.
They do need to be separate.
They don't need to be merged. They need to be separate for several reasons. Because when we're a new agency, you don't want to be merging loops together where people have access to each side's files. Okay? So you're going to take the buyer side, and the only thing you need to concern yourself with is the buyer side of that transaction if you're representing the buyer. If it's your loop and you're representing the seller, you concern yourself with the seller side of the transaction and make sure that it's ready from start to finish, because what's going what's gonna happen is when you get that side, when your side is ready to go, you're gonna click submit for review. And then broker in charge is gonna review all the documents, and then she's gonna say, ready for VA, and that's gonna allow Lisa to release the money to pay. So if you merge them, there's another opportunity for one side to be done and one side not right, and you can't submit it for review and whenever you get ready for VA. Well, you don't want to hold your side of the payment up because somebody else may not have their documents right. Does that make sense?
Plus, it's very hard to review them when you got two sets of everything, and you'd have to be duplicates in there. I don't want it like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own file from the time you get on board till the all the way.
And then you don't need to be merging them, just keep it separate.
Keep them separate. They'll have a HUD, you'll have a HUD, Jesse will have a HUD, you'll have a HUD, Belinda will have a HUD.
It would be no different if it were, than if it were across. Right. You still keep the same documents. You just keep them for your side of the transaction. Okay. Got one set.
Doing a contract for buy side. So it's for another contract, right? You pick your house.
Okay.
You change the name.
They
Right, so we changed the name.
change the loop status from private.
You're gonna change the name.
No, that's the
We're gonna
change.
change the name, we're gonna say that. We'll go back further. Okay, if you had the loop private up until this point, this is when you need to change the loop over to active. Everybody with me?
And this point is,
At the point where you may have it private because you have you're in a buyer agency with somebody, and you don't have a contract yet, so you may have it in private. You can switch it over to active at the start if you want to, but at this point is when it's necessary to switch it over to active. Okay?
When you get ready to write a contract, is that what you said?
When we go in to make the contract, the first thing you want to do is you want to change the name. Second thing you want to do is make the loop active. And then, of course, you're going to go in and you're going to fill out all your forms. And you have the sheet with the order of the forms.
They were right here, they're right here.
Can I hold on for a second? Thank you.
Oh, I gave you the wrong one,
Okay,
sorry.
that's all right.
The list.
Thank you. Okay. So, in order to make the review process, once you get everything filled out and you go to submit it for review, in order to make this process flow seamlessly, you want to have your documents in the order that's shown on this page. And some of them you may not use, right? So this one, we don't have any additional provisions, so it's not going to be there. We don't have an FHA addendum, so it's not going to be there. We don't have a lead-based bank addendum. But when you look at this, there's a certain intuitiveness to it. These are all part of the contract. So it's the contract, and then if you have addendums to the contract, they're going to follow the contract. Because as a total, they make up the contract. Does that make sense? Everybody with me on that? So you would put all those in there first. You would have a copy of the earnest money and the due diligence check. You would have those in here. I tell you what, this might be the best time to pull up somebody else's
Well,
loop.
show them how to change the name of the folder, because that's supposed to be buyer. So click on that, click on that, you're gonna get a drop-down box over there. And rename it, okay, just name it buyer.
That's what you want, buyer folder.
No,
Not buyer, I don't
I'm sorry. Buyer. Still need buyer.
Okay. Then you go ahead and put your documents in it that go in that folder, which is the work of the real estate agents and the buyer agency agreement. Okay, go back to the
Well, they should be there. They should be part of that.
Yeah. They will do that. There's no teaching material on this, so we just
I
click
click
on
on
buyers
buyers
and
under there, and I think it'll, there you go.
put them in the right order, working with real estate agents. Just move that one up to first. And then the buyer agency.
That's just a matter of sliding it.
Yeah.
Exclusive buyer agency agreement.
Yeah. You got to let it go, though, and slide it up there.
Okay, and then here's where you're going to add a folder.
After you do it. Buy a contract or contract, whatever.
And this is your buyer contract folder.
So the buyer folder just has working with real estate and the,
And the
exclusive
buyer
rights.
agency agreement, just those two documents.
That's right. And I'll tell you what we do is we don't put these other documents in there. We'll put there's a sample one of these, and you can put it says sample on it, and that's what we'll put in our buyer
That's the
file
one you need.
instead of a full-blown offer to purchase. It'll be a standard. It says sample.
I mean, you have to pull it up to see that? Yeah. If you look at that printout list that I gave everybody from the NCAR website, it's got those in there. It'll help you find it, because you can say, well, there's about 10 ahead of it, and you can get down there and find it easier, or at least I can. I hate to scroll through it because I can't find it as easy.
Can we add that to our buyer docs, the sample?
Are you saying, can Lisa add on this?
Is it already there? That's
Yeah.
really what.
What you gotta do on that one, offer purchasing contract, click offer purchasing contract.
Is it?
No, it's the box. It's the box. You go over there to that arrow down and put copy to. Copy, it's not leave document, to leave. Right here, to leave. And that way you release it. Y'all, I don't do this much. I do it a different way.
You should just be able to pull it and drag it over to that.
I tried.
Yeah.
It won't go,
It won't go from the
It won't go.
But there,
But I'm
wait,
with
go
you.
over there again and let's see what it says. I know I've done it. You got to exit first.
Yeah.
Copy to, yeah, that's what we did, copy to. We'll click it again, because I mean, that's how you do it. Do the same thing.
You can do it right there to the templates. Yeah.
Do it as a flat, no, just do it as a flat PDF, see what that does. Because I mean, I've done it.
Then you take everything.
Copy to, now do the second, no, the second. Copy is flat PDF.
If you click on that 1, 2, 3, doesn't it pull it
There it
all?
is, any street, let's see it right there.
There you go.
So let's move the page.
They find it.
Copy to,
Template.
to,
Usually, buyer contract. And then it's gonna edit that there.
There you go.
that's how it goes. But now, X them all the ones you want to move, X them, and I think you can go over there and do them all at once. I'm not-
This would technically have been your sample, and it would stay there. But rather than look for the sample, we just put the form in there.
Can you not just click on it and slide it up?
No,
Other people work on it.
You can slide within the folder, but you can't slide from
but
folder.
here's how I would do it. I would first of all get my buyer straight and have those two documents in it. Then I create a new folder. And then when I created the new folder, I would put it above these other documents. That's the way I would do it.
And this is if you're doing it electronically. Our files just have working with real estate agents, exclusive buyer agency, and it has the seller professional services. This one, those three go in ours. Because on the buyer agency agreement, you check the block whether you provide them a sample or not, and you can hand them a paper sample and just check the block that they've received it. Okay, does that make sense?
I may not get it signed.
Now, you see that the first under the buyer folder, copy of NC offer purchase and contract?
Right.
X that. Let's just say you don't want that in there after all. You got a form, you don't want it in there. Go over there, click it, and hit archive.
Because
Archive. And it goes away. It's not going to show up. It's not going to show up in my file. So if you've got 2 or 3 offer to purchase, archive the one you're not using before you go to another one. Just archive it.
And so a real life example, when would be a real life example when you would want to do that?
We just had this happen. We had partials, signed, 2 or 3 in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally said, hey, with it, sign and we'll upload it. So I archived all the electronic and uploaded the,
Right, right.
Your finished
And that's-
file will look like that sheet of paper.
Your
Y'all
finished-
not have a lot of extra
Yeah.
things in it.
Your finished file should look just, when you get buyer contract, there should only be one of these in there.
Fully signed.
Fully executed offer to purchase, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. So we have a buyer and then a buyer's contract. Why do we have 2 folders?
Because one is your contract documents and one is your buyer representation documents.
So you want 2 different folders now. You don't want just buyer and everything in one folder.
Well, that's the way it's always been. And the reason I do that is because some agents want me to look at their buyer agency agreement and they can submit it for compliance review. A lot of the new agents want me to look at that. And so that helps them go ahead and submit it for compliance review, then go on to the next step.
So then-
And they're good to go.
They want to make sure that they've had their agency documents before they ever find the house. They want to make sure that their agency
Okay.
documents are correct.
So I guess here's my question. Do you want it as a buyer with just working with exclusive buyer agency, that's it, whatever? And then you want a whole separate folder that says buyer contract folder?
Yes,
And then you want one in there, offer to purchase?
yes. Anything that has to deal with the transaction.
But not the working with, not the,
Now, one, you want to look at it as one is an agency folder and one is a transaction.
so the professional services.
It's really not that much work. It's just creating one
well, I
additional
just put
folder.
everything under one folder, but.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, if it were me, when I got through sending that, just say the sample offer purchase and contract, now, if it were me, I just would archive that one and not clutter it up. To me, the simpler your looks, easier it's gonna be for you to manage.
That's right.
I would just archive it if it's something I just sent to them and it was just a blank document. I just would archive it. We just clean the loop up.
Right. So if you've got one in here that you've got an offer purchasing contract in there, and page 11 gets revised, and the buyer agent only brings you page 11.
Mhm.
Don't load page 11 in here, okay?
I was scared.
Don't.
I was very.
Don't
scared.
load page
That's about
11 and submit it for review. There should be one,
I mean, I'm.
Offer to
cleaning
purchase
them up, but I
So then
it
what do you,
should be one document.
so what do you want us to do? How,
Just scan it. You can scan it. Well, there is a way to do it, but I think we're getting too complicated. I think we ought to get through the simple stuff first. You
Right.
can merge that document together, but it's not all that easy, and you won't do it very often. I would archive the old stuff, scan it in, and then put that one in as your offer purchase and contract. Fully executed with earnest money and everything. Y'all, I get them with this many as 4 different things that I've got to put together. You know, a revised page, earnest money, when it's not filled out. I get everything.
Well, you can't do that. It's hard to make sure files are correct if there's pieces of one offer to purchase here a page 11 here, and then page 2 and 4 are revised here. It's hard to, on the firm end, to look at those 3 separate documents and follow the trail. Does that make sense? So, and I would say it'd probably be hard for on the agent side to even follow that trail. So you just want one offer to purchase and contract, one solid document. Because when you send it to the attorney, what do you send?
I said everything I got.
Well, let me ask you
When,
this.
when I send the document to the attorney, I'm sorry, I'm finished this, but when I send the document to the attorney, I send them one offer to purchase and contract. And if I've revised page 11, I take the old page 11 out and I put the new page 11 in and I send them that. Because if not, they're going to be asking me questions. They're going to be coming back going, well, which page 11 do I use? Do you see what I'm saying? So it puts it all under one document. It makes it very easy to review, and it's going to ultimately make your life easier on your end too, because you're only looking at one transaction contract, one
And
contract that deals with that
And
transaction.
the other thing is, many of you are working with an assistant, and think about how much time it's gonna save you with your assistant if she's not searching through the files trying to find the correct document that she needs to do something with. You see what I'm saying? It'll actually save you money in the long run by having your documents complete and just one of them in there.
That's right. And when you provide the document to your buyer, when you send them the fully executed contract, do you send them one and then send them an additional page 11 and an additional page 14, or do you send them one document? So when you scan that one document and send to them, just load it into your loop and archive the old ones. It's that easy. Yes,
The receipt of earnest money, do you want that merged with the contract?
that is a transaction. That goes with the transaction file, not merged with it, but it is part of that.
So it's okay,
part of
that's like
this.
a separate.
The documents, what I'm talking about is the one at the end of the contract.
What she's talking about right now is oftentimes the earnest money gets signed for later.
Right, that's what
Okay,
I'm talking. It's okay
right.
to have a separate file for that.
No,
that's
you
what-
want one offer of purchase.
There are a copy of the earnest money check, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I need to merge that last page into the other one.
You have to
Yes.
spread it all
Okay.
and then put it together.
Well, sure,
and then
merge it, I mean, you can merge it.
Jake, can you show us how to merge
There's a program called PDF Fill and Merge Documents. That's what I use. It's free. It's called PDF Fill and Image Writer. And it has tools that you can merge PDFs. You can take two PDF, FILL, and Image Writer is what it's called.
Is it pdffield.com?
PDF Fill and Image Writer. Just Google search it. You can probably get it off CNET or anywhere. But it allows you to merge multiple PDFs. You're going to find that tool useful for many, many reasons beyond just contracts. Because it puts a little printer up, and when you go to select the printer, you can select PDF Fill, and rather than printing a document you need to email to somebody, you can select that, and it saves it as a PDF automatically. It's going to save you money on printing costs. So it's a great program to have.
I need it.
And you can merge that. You can take two PDFs and merge them to one. You can say keep page 1, 3, 5, and 7, and take 6 from this one and put them together, and you end up with one PDF.
Can you still merge it though on .lit? Is there a way to
I'll have
merge
to,
it?
I'll have to find
You
that.
can.
I don't know how to do that.
All right, I'll do
But,
it.
but I think we need to cover the basics, honestly. I mean, I think really ways, I mean, I know that would make things easier, but there's so many other things we need to cover.
Right.
To me.
Sure. We can do, I can find out for you. I don't know the answer because I
It's
use
just working on a
PDF Fill.
one-on-one basis.
It's fine, I'll look it up, don't worry about it, I'll figure it out. But, next,
If you want to use PDF Fill, it's a great tool for you.
It
And
works for-
you'll use it far beyond just this.
It
You'll
works
use it
for
a lot.
for HTML files too, like two.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't
it
have to
works.
print them all.
It's huge. It's huge. It's a great tool. It can rotate PDFs. It can do how many times you can get them in from buyer agent and they're all upside down. Happened to me this morning. So open up PDF, look them over, save it, and I'm done.
I get a 1, 2.
Yeah.
Well, you would believe how they come in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean that to be ugly, but it just is gonna make it better for you.
Yep. So in the transaction file, you want the documents to look like this. Any questions there? And you know that you just want one of each. There needs to be one of each. if it's applicable to this transaction. Any questions on that?
You know how to rename your files? Everybody got that?
Yep.
And
All right,
everybody does, if you add your people and you edit your details, before you go to do your forms, they'll pre-populate everybody's stuff.
Mhm.
You should do that.
So you don't
first.
have to do every single form.
No.
Well, not every document's applicable.
I know, but I'm talking about working with real estate agents, exclusive buyer agency agreements.
You don't have it in order here.
You just saying put them in order online.
Look,
Don't take much to confuse me.
So,
So what you would do,
Sure.
okay, so this one, NC Auburn purchasing contract, you got that in your contract file, so we'll just archive this one. Okay, this one's gone. So what you'll do is you'll take your work with real estate agents, and you'll slide it to the top.
Yes.
And then you're gonna have your buyer agency agreement. This is actually this would stay here as well. You got this in the contract transaction document.
if I'm understanding you correctly.
Okay. So,
Please.
I feel like I didn't know that.
And I've got things in there like the deed and things that you all really should look up. And almost everybody in here can probably find a time that it saved you to know who the grantee of the property is. But I'm not sending them back if I don't get it, because the real estate commission does not require me to have that in the file. But I'm just telling you, if you're broken in charge, I think you should have it.
Where do you want the Q and A? Oh, never mind, stop.
Q&A, if you're doing it electronically, that's going to be your, that's not going to be a transactional file, that's going to be an agency document.
But do you want it showing up?
See, I get mine signed. I didn't have to
These
keep mine
two,
signed.
See, I don't, I mean, you know, just saying that you, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
these two are the two that are required.
Okay.
Because this one addresses question and answers on limits. It addresses those other documents, and then it's up to you whether you to check it or not to check it.
Oh, yeah.
Now go up to the top now, go all the way up to the top, is that the top?
But
Okay, just trying to think where it is. Go over there where it says add document.
okay.
And click on it, because I was gonna show them, it's gonna show what you've archived. In other words, if you archive that, then you wonder if you skimmed it to them, because you don't want to color up your mess. It'll show it, it'll show you've done it. But you know, it's not a necessary thing for me to see.
So right now, I've archived everything, and it's gone. Okay? So I got a little bit ahead by choosing those other documents, and I shouldn't have done that, so I apologize. Go ahead. So you got John Doe. We're going to go back to this is before we ever find the property. You're going to have this is your agency file. Okay, that's the two you want in there. You found the file, you found the property, you've renamed it, you've made it active, you've got your buyer contract folder. Now what you want to do is add documents to it. And this is how we do it as a team. We do this piece first because we always have these done before we ever show them the property. Period. I don't get in the car with anybody unless they've signed a buyer agency agreement.
Do you do the people part first? Do you do the people?
Yep, so you found somebody, you've changed the name, you've made it active, go into details, you fill in all your property details and all that, so it pre-populates the forms, right?
Right, but this is the most common problem that I have. I'll put in a wrong email, or I won't know an email for like the husband and the wife, but I want them in there, so I'll make up an email or something for one of them, and then I want to go back and change it. Is
You
that
have to go back into your contacts, and then there's a primary email address, and then there's an e-signature email address. You have to change that e-signature email address remove the contact and
That
replace them.
explains why.
There's only one place you can change that. So you don't want to add it here unless you've got it right,
Okay.
unless you want to have to go back and change it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we found the property, we've changed that, we've got it, we've done our details. Now you can choose in the contract, you can choose templates. And you can go to the buyer forms. And you're going to have this one because it's transactional. This one. And let's say you got a VA purchase agreement, so you're going to have that. Then you add these documents. And this is what a complete file should look like. So they're all filled out. These are the documents that are pertinent to this property. So you want to have this one first. You have your finance and addendum second. You're going to have copies of your earnest money and your due diligence.
If they have a lid-based, anything attached to the contract goes right down below the contract. Your lid-based payment, whatever.
And you're going to have your professional services, tax card. Does everybody see now? You see that these are in the order because these are appropriate. And this is what a complete file, provided it had the copy of the earnest money and the due diligence check, that is what a complete file should look like. You've got a buyer file, that's your agency documents, and then you've got a contract file, that's your contract documents. So that's a buyer complete, ready to go.
Submitted.
Does any questions up to this point?
How do you use the green sheet there? That's in edit details.
That's in the details.
Do we have,
Edit details.
I mean, we know that that's general. All right, there's some things that are important, like lead-based paint and some other forms. Do we have, a way, I know we can go to NC, whatever it is, and get them. Gosh, no, they're hard to find.
They're in.
No, if you wanted to add one, if you wanted one here that's not in the standard template, you would go here, and you're not going to click the buyer forms, you're going to click Keller Williams Realty, and then you're going to go find that
That's specific.
unique document to this transaction, and you're going to add it in there.
Yeah, that's.
For example, in the contingent sale.
Yeah.
Will you rub it in?
And we didn't put them in the template because so many properties don't require those that you would have to spend your time archiving everything. Each transaction you did, you would have to archive them, whereas you may not sell the 3 houses that are built prior to 78, and it's easier just to go back and choose that form it is than it is to archive 28 times throughout the year.
And
Makes
if you guys have any suggestions on forms that you want us to put in there to make your life simpler, let me know. We can create different forms.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. You might have already answered this question. I'm sorry, I was cognizant. Can you create your own template personally?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can, but you got to remember when the form updates, you have to go and make sure you update that form in your file.
Right, but you can create your own, like, investor template.
Absolutely.
Or whatever template.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could.
If you got a client you work a lot with, that person's template.
We can have a vacant lot one, we could have a new construction one.
That would be.
We could have a termination one. I mean, you guys let me know. We can set
Give
it up.
us suggestions
I
if you
think
got
that would be
them.
actually nice.
Okay.
Yeah, my suggestion for us, but for somebody would be to be able to search by a keyword, like a,
Alphabetical would be.
or something. I don't know.
No,
You
I'm
have to
saying,
know exactly, and for the commercial ones to be labeled commercial, that would be helpful.
Well,
Yeah.
what we've done is we put them in the same exact order that they are at the real estate commission, right, Judy?
At the NCAR, and that's why I give you a list of them. It's easier to me to look at that list and say, well, it looks like it's about 15, so I go down and start looking, instead of looking at every one until I get to
They're
it.
grouped
That's what I
they're
do.
grouped with 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, like that.
And the transaction forms are together.
Like the form number, like the 100s, 200s. That's how they're grouped.
are you saying under the Keller Williams
Yeah.
thing, they're
I'll look
grouped
at- I'll look
under
at- I'll look at
founders?
some paper.
Show them how to submit for review too.
So is everybody clear on this to this point?
Yes. Yes.
So this is a completed file for a property that doesn't require any special things. Outside of, you would have a copy of an earnest money check, copy of the due diligence, tax card, CMA, all of those files you would have right here. Okay? If it were listing, you'd have, yeah. And if it's a buyer, sometimes you'll see.
Just have what's on that.
Already there. Alright, this is, they have your jointly approved forms are the very first groups, and then they have seller initiated forms. And those are the 100s. And they have buyer initiated forms in the 200s, residential contract forms 3s. You've got them in this order.
That's why I gave it to you. I thought it would make it easier, but I don't know. But at least I had to put them in there some way. Because Doc Luke, you know, they were getting ready to replace a bunch of forms because we got changes on a lot of forms. So you're gonna have a whole new set. So we changed it on the contracts, we need a bunch of changes. But they're not significant, and they're gonna be a bunch of.
So you can reference that and then scroll through the Keller Williams that's not the buyer forms or seller forms. And they're gonna be in the order of this sheet right here. And can we rename those, Lisa?
Yes, I believe so.
If that makes it easier too, we can do that.
Yeah, because like, concept, buyer, loop, they're all construction.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the front of every form. And that way they can reference that list and go right to number 24 and plug it in.
I thought we had tried that, Lisa,
What's that?
making those changes like he's talking about.
Making more changes.
Pretty good.
So when you're scrolling through these that are, when we're scrolling through,
Template.
It's subject.
when we're scrolling through this, do you have control over what this is called? Can those be renamed? Okay. If we can, then we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then take that sheet right there and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 100 or whatever, and then you can just scroll through the number that you need and put the pop in. That might make it easier. I don't think you could either.
I may have misunderstood her, but I know that when we set it up, I thought that we found out, because you know, the numbers have to go at the
We'll
end,
look into that.
and on the forms they're at the beginning.
We'll look into that.
We can, like, hover over it, just hover over it and see.
It'll show the
That's
number.
what
Yeah.
it shows the number. I can put it maybe and then put the number first.
We'll look at it.
We really
Let's
don't
look
need
at
it to
it.
say NC because y'all know they're not.
That's right, that's right.
Let's look at it and see what we can do to make that easier.
But on the template, before you get over there on the left
Uh-huh.
hand side, could we get a condo buyer loop, a new construction loop, a vacant lot loop, commercial? Could we get that?
I don't see. I see this being beneficial.
Are you part of
Yeah, we could, I just need a list of what,
Just-
yeah, maybe y'all can put in there.
I think it would be beneficial.
It's faster if it's already there.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have to scroll down and check, scroll down and check, scroll down and
I don't think, if you can just, I haven't done that part.
We'll look into that. I think that would be hugely helpful if we could do that.
Or you could even do one that's like most popular, or I don't know, like, I know you guys need to do agency, and then, what's it called, you have to change the
Yeah. Yeah.
list price and,
anything.
yeah. What is that one called?
Amendment.
We'll look into that. We'll see what our options are and we'll figure that out.
It's not fine, though, isn't it?
Agree
We'll-
to.
Yeah, that's it.
We'll check into that. See if we can do that. All right, so does everybody understand how to get to this point and what the file should look like? Is everybody following me here? What should be in each category, et cetera? Okay, when you get all of those done and everything's complete and you've reviewed it and signatures are in place, yes, ma'am?
I was gonna take a picture of that,
Oh, okay.
so to remind myself, if I know how to take a picture of this new camera. Forget it, I don't know how to do it.
Well, it should match this. All right, so you reviewed all your signatures, you're ready to go, and here's what's going to be key going forward. Because the broker in charge is only going to look, let me scroll it up a little. The broker in charge is only going to review files that have been submitted for review.
I don't know whether you ever read it or not. Unless you are.
This is good.
Everybody clear on that? Does everybody understand what I say, what I mean by that? She is not going to look at your file unless it's been submitted for review. Once it's been submitted for review, she's going to approve it and make it ready for DA. Does everybody know what DA is? Payment. That's money in your pocket. Okay. So, and here's yeah, that's why it's so significant, because if it hasn't been submitted for review and you submit it for review at 2 o'clock for a closing you got at 4, she may not be here. And you may not, it may delay your payment for a few days. And Lisa cannot give a check, period, unless it has been approved, ready for DA.
And who has learned about that recently?
Me. It happened to me. No, it happened to me yesterday. She was in my money yesterday. And I'm okay with that. I mean, that's the standard. It makes sense. That's how it should be.
And the reason for that is, that's the only thing that's fair to everybody else. We got a lot of new agents, and I need to scrutinize their phone numbers, and I'm too busy. Lisa has to give me the list, and then I've got to go through there and try to find them. They may not rename the property address and all that stuff. And it's just, it takes a lot of time that I feel like I could benefit new agents who need things. And that's the whole reason. It's just make the whole process go smoother.
So my suggestion would be you get your documents together as quickly as possible and submit them for review as quickly as possible, so you've got plenty of time to fix anything that may not be correct. We
often don't get anything until the green sheet's submitted. We haven't even looked at the contract or anything.
Yeah, I don't even know if there is a contract unless you take a sheet.
And then she tells me that I'm going there trying to find it and fix it.
So you're not notified when we submit it?
Until you submit it, starting August 1st, if it's not submitted for review, I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to wait till y'all submit it, because it's the only way I can keep up with it.
My question is, whenever somebody submits something, are you notified?
Yes.
Yes.
You're notified?
Yeah.
As soon as there's something that's there to review.
I get an email.
It's a trigger for her to review that file. Files are in document. I don't even know. Otherwise, she's got to scroll through hundreds of files and find what's projected to close this month. And she's got to scroll through 100 of them, find your file, go through it, make sure it's correct, and then send you any corrections, and then send it back. So do you see why on the broker in charge end it's so very important that we take these steps?
I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One, so should we wait to submit it when we have the contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
can
that's what
submit it
I
to-
meant like if
You meant the
if
listing.
we had the listing, so I have these listings.
You submit it when you get your listing documents signed, and you've got that.
And then do you resubmit it when
We're
we get
doing
the contract?
buyers. We're doing buyers. We're getting ready to go through the
Okay.
listing.
Okay.
Right now, we're talking about buyers.
Click that folder, hit submit for review. But if you want me to check it, since you're still relatively new, when you do your buyer agency agreement, you can submit that to me too, and I'll review that.
Then is there any way, like, I guess, can you just click on the activity log to see that you have submitted it
Yes.
and that it's, did I miss that part? I was saying.
No, he.
No, yeah, we haven't gone over that.
Okay, that was my next question.
So this is where you submit for review, right here.
What's,
Once you've verified that you think your documents are like they need to be, they're per this, everything's signed, everything's ready to go, you submit it for review. She gets an email and knows, I need to review this file. She can review it. If everything's ready to go, she can make it ready for DA. If there are corrections that need to be made, she's going to send you back a list of corrections. You'll go back, correct it, and then you submit for review again.
And that whole process is different when you submit it for review. If you haven't submitted for review, my whole review process is different. The way I have to do that, you guys have to go in and do a separate email. I have to make those. So it's a different process, and it'll work better for y'all because then you have it flagged what you need to do. So it'll work good.
It's a different process, and from this point forward, it's an irrelevant process. I mean, not saying that it's but it's not going to be done unless it's submitted for review. That's why I can't say how important it is to make this, especially as we're starting to implement this system and clean up and get everything going moving forward. Now is the time that it's real crucial that you submit them for review as early as possible.
Well, what I do now a lot of times is I go to most recently updated, and I can filter out the most recently updated, so I can go in there and see what you guys are doing if you got closings coming up, but you have to let us know.
We're not going to do that.
But I just say.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. It is from this point forward, it's submit for review, ready for DA, you get paid. And again, this is not punitive, it's not anything, it's just that we make sure we've got our records where they need to be. That's all it is.
Are you actually going to submit it so you can show how it's?
So you go up here and you click this button.
Now see, that only comes up if you haven't edited your details.
Right.
Well, now,
It's asking, it wants the street address.
Right. If you haven't done this, so you would just type in the appropriate information and then you would hit next. And then when you hit next, it's going to give you a message that says in compliance review. That's what your status will then be. It'll be in compliance review until she either approves it for DA or sends it back to you.
I think you guys get some kind of paid when she does approve it, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
You see, I haven't approved a lot of them because they weren't submitted, so, because there's so many of them, it's just hard to find them.
Yeah, it's new. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but it's going to work, and it's what
Is required.
it's what absolutely works. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, does that make sense? It's the way the system was built, and it's the only way that it will work efficiently. In other words, we don't have another option.
Isn't it a lot easier than y'all thought it was, some of the things you've seen? I mean, it's not really all that complicated.
it's like trying to eat a whole cake at one time and you get choked on. That's what happens with this stuff. You have to learn exactly. Somebody's got their videos, I understand.
Right.
And I've looked at some of them, but it's not like you standing up there telling it.
Right. Well, here's the other beauty of using of what the system we're moving to with the submit for review and it's kind of the learning, the trial by fire process. It's going to make us learn.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, if something's not right, it's not just going to be okay. This isn't right. We're going to fix it 2 weeks from now, or please go back and fix your files. It's going to be we're going to learn right then what we need to do to fix it. I mean, it's going to be beneficial for all of us.
And I'll help each one of you on each one of your loops that you want me to. We'll go through and clean up a couple of them, and then you can see firsthand how to do it. And if anybody had one that they found troublesome, we could try to clean it up for them. If y'all had one you wanted us to pick on you about. You know, something to go in there, take your loop and clean it up like it's supposed to be.
Go ahead, Dee Dee.
You can actually go into the admin if you want to, and I can show them what things look like. Just click on there and click admin for Caltrans.
It's back office.
I start to say, Lisa.
Look at it, last updated. Now go up there and click last updated now.
There's, who's that? Is that Nancy's right there? I know your name first.
It's got a star.
Nancy, look at you, Nancy.
Listing compliance review.
Okay, so it's in,
So it's under contract.
But I don't think I've ever submitted it for review.
Well, he said it once. It says
Do
compliance
this,
review.
go up there and to the top.
Well, yeah, I'm going to cover a couple, while we're scrolling through this, I'm going to just talk about a couple things. All right, so you don't remember an address and the firm needs to look something up, and we don't remember address. We know it's in Greenville. We know it's in 27858. That's all we can remember, is that it's in 27858. I don't know if this is in 27858 or not, but if we were searching by zip code, we would not be able to find this property. It wouldn't exist for us. That's the importance of having every single file named the exact same thing, because that gives us the ability to search for something by a known way to search. In other words, if any one of these pieces of information are missing, we know that if every single file is named the same, that we can search by any one of these things. So we might know that it was 101, but we don't remember the name of the street. You see? And there's some in here that don't even have, that might just be a street name.
Look at that 2956 Sunnyside Road. It says private, and then it's got a full circle, so you don't
I'm just looking on that.
pass that one to her.
She don't
know whose it is.
I just got it yesterday.
But your circle's on, yours are good.
But like a new buyer.
There you go.
New buyer. Who's that?
So you're thinking,
Not
There you go.
not guilty.
No, we're not going to call. I mean, I'm just showing.
Not guilty.
Oh, wait. What is wrong with mine?
Zero.
That's the address.
Is it? Okay.
You want to see the MLS sheet?
No, it's
Submit the MLS.
I will be glad to. That is the address. Yes, it's 0 County Hunt Road.
Yeah, they were playing.
Don't be picking on me now.
I didn't pick on you, but
Like 0.
Yeah, until you said no climb. But then there's the thing.
No climb. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's mine, but she's supposed to be merging it. So I've got two.
I mean, we couldn't say, we don't even know what city that's in.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's very important that there's continuity throughout that process.
So how do you find that, suppose you only remember it was 461?
Well, go
Well,
up
you
to
just
the
put it in the time.
shower. Just you just hit
Yes.
461, but that's gonna come.
Red bar.
But I want to show y'all something right
So
here.
you type in 461.
Yeah, and just, it'll just come up.
It's one, see, that's-
That's why it's so important to have continuity throughout the system.
Click up there.
You convinced us.
Filter. Click up
Okay.
filter.
Uh-huh.
Now, go over here and put compliance review. Click compliance review. Okay? And then hit filter.
Because you
So
said
that's because he has
461.
But you still got
You gotta take that out. We've got probably, what, 35 closings coming up. That's how many I got that I got from the last review.
Oh!
I just want to show y'all that. So, if I'm only gonna be doing compliance reviews, we gotta step up to the plate.
No, and that's, I mean, that's literally, that's the importance of this.
That's what
Did you see how many files that she would have to scroll through to find what she's looking for if you hadn't submitted it for review? And it's just not, it's not a good use of your time, it's not fair to you, it's just not the right way to go. So, so that's the deal. So when the time comes, somebody's gonna bring in a bug one day and they're gonna say, Lisa, give me a check. And Lisa's gonna go,
It doesn't say right.
So let me
This is
ask you a
gonna
question
go-
right there, Adam. That was three that were archived. Why did it even bring up an archived file under submit?
they were submitted, they were archived while they were in compliance review.
So they'll always stay there?
No, I think we can do it on our own, clean them up.
That's not the same.
Once you archive stuff, it still shows up in our stuff.
So,
Oh. But I mean, that wouldn't be valid. I mean, that wouldn't be, it'd be a waste of time to even mess with them other than just.
What am I missing?
What social sector?
So that, see, Lisa, if they're archived, that means we are not doing anything with those files anymore,
Right,
but they're still under compliance review.
they never got looked at.
So if I submit it for review, can I still work on it?
Oh, of course.
So when somebody comes in with a HUD, what Lisa's gonna do is she's gonna come in here and she's gonna select this box and she's gonna filter and she's gonna say, this property is not ready for DA, go see Judy.
Oh, gosh, that gives me chills.
And then you're gonna go see Judy and Judy's gonna go filter by compliance review and she's gonna say, this is your piece of it.
First I have to get Judy to do that, then I have to make sure Alan's here so we can prove your ACH.
So it's really important that this happens as early in the process as you can make it. Okay? No, this is a good thing.
Yeah, I know.
This is a good thing.
All right. The important thing is to do those green sheets, because if you don't do the green sheets, I don't know that the property is gonna be.
It's either way or, yeah.
So once I have a closing date, I keep track of those. And I'll come to you and say, hey, is this closing this week, or, and if it is, I'll say, hey, you need to submit it, you need to get it approved, or if the closing date's changed,
So
then
when
you
you,
know that.
so when you, up where it had, status, it'll say, like, the house says active, it'll say reviewed, or it'll say ready for DA.
Yes, the status will say ready for DA. Or it'll say in compliance review. Or it'll say submit for review.
Now, you can, while we're on that loop, so, if there's things you want in that loop, just so you'll have them, like, you can add them, I guess.
And these are
Scan,
uploaded
you
on
can
your.
scan it,
Yep.
anything. Just don't, but that does not go to her, because it's on this.
Right. What other people have done is created a new folder, and they'll call it miscellaneous or something, and they'll add emails to it, whatever. Of course, but you don't submit that.
Yeah, she's not, what she's gonna look at are your transaction documents and your agency documents. That's what she's gonna look at. She's not gonna look at your miscellaneous documents.
Right, and would you archive those miscellaneous documents so she won't have to deal with them? Look at them.
No, because if they're in a folder, she's gonna look at buyer, and she's gonna look at buyer contract, or she's gonna look at listing, and she's gonna look at listing contract. If it's miscellaneous, she's not gonna look at it. Does that make
Well, is
sense?
it titled miscellaneous? I
You
mean,
have to create the folder.
so we got 3 folders if we got
Yeah,
miscellaneous.
if you got miscellaneous, you just create a folder called miscellaneous. You can have a folder called emails. The important thing is that you have a buyer folder and buyer contract. You have a listing folder and listing contract, because those are the two that will be reviewed. And the listing process works the exact same way. You get your listing documents in order. Once you have all your listing documents in order, have I got everybody's attention?
Yeah.
When you have all your listing documents ready, and you reviewed them, and you know all your signatures are in place, and you're ready to put them in the MLS, you submit your listing documents for review as well. And then that triggers what's called create listing. Then Lisa knows to go and add it as a new listing and all of that. So it's the same process, different documents, boom, and then you go into contract, you create a listing contract folder that looks like the other sheet of paper. And then you submit the contract folder for review once it's under contract and all the documents are where they need to be ready to go.
In our next class, are we gonna have, so we're gonna have to obviously have the same class. Do we get more in depth, like how to get all your emails in there, how to merge these, like the last page, the offer to purchase, merge it with the other offer to purchase, so you don't have to print and scan and do all that stuff?
Yeah.
Can we go into all that detailed stuff?
Yeah, we can go into those details.
I have a question about it.
It's something I'm going to have to investigate because I don't use this to do that. I use PDF.
activity log.
Mhm.
That's a very important thing. It's the aggravating thing, I have to do, because there's so many of them.
You're in,
All right.
I tell you what, sometimes if I think I've sent something to somebody, I'll go look at the activity log, and if it says sent, then I feel good.
Right.
But then sometimes, you know, I'll find out, I really didn't send it when I saw it.
I think that's our activity log, so just click on Keller Williams.
So what are you looking for out of the activity log, so I can make sure I find one that's got what you're looking for?
You know, like sometimes you'll get your documents back and, one of them is signed today, husband signed it today, and wife didn't sign it at all yet. So you have to get all that done. I get so many things in the activity log, it's confusing. Is there a certain way you can?
There's two ways to do that, and the quick way to do it, and I don't look at if I'm on this guy, so I know he's got documents in it.
Well, for one thing, you should get an email saying that it's been signed by a certain point.
But you might not unless it's not set up that way. You gotta make sure you've set it up that way. Just not me.
And if it's husband and wife and they both have, you know, unique email addresses, it'll say husband signed or his
Right.
name.
I just had one where the wife signed it, and husband.
License, and I really don't do this now. I have that.
So can I go back to, if I go back to admin?
Oh, I know she signed the business.
Oh.
You can get all the signed the business. So then I have to show you.
Excuse me. Judy, where does an amendment to the contract go? Under the contract, right, everything contract related to me should go together. The, all the purchasing contract, and then the, all your addendums, your FHA, lead-based payment, amendment, all that together. Because it belongs together, in your head it's together, but now that's the way.
Directly past the offer to purchase, like after the other things.
You know,
They go directly after the offer to purchase, what, you know, they amend.
if you don't have any addendums to your offer to purchase, it's your offer to purchase. Which is that your offer to purchase and your lead-based payment, your FHA financing, your contingent sale addendums. Then, you amend it, that's the next time.
Okay, so I don't know what, I don't use the activity log for what you're talking about. Here's the way to quick reference. This has never been shared. This is signed, this is waiting on somebody to sign.
Yeah.
This has never been filled out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but mine sure don't look like that.
And then when you hover over it, you can do different things with it. You can either share it again, or
He's not the, it should.
it'll show you who it's been shared with and who's waiting on signature.
Would it help to do one of yours
So when
too?
you hover over it, it'll show you who you're waiting on. If you
Right.
just hover over that,
That's
waiting
fine.
on.
So if you wonder whether you shared something, and if it's not been shared, it'll say not shared.
Yeah, I got that one, I know that one.
Okay.
I just did, I'm just trying to get all of them. In other words, I got one right now that the buyer. I sent them the forms. And the wife, I had an email from her, and she signed it as a business
Mm-hmm.
instead of her personal name. And the husband, she signed it as a business in her husband's spot. And I had a time trying to get all that squared away. And get them, this is what I finally did.
Mhm.
Forget signing it on e-sign. We want to meet and you all are gonna sign it.
Well, you need to
That
know
works.
that up front, so when you create the document, you create it so a business can sign it. You see what I'm
Well,
saying?
well,
If you didn't know that up front, you didn't know. So-
No, I didn't know she was gonna sign it, and really and truly, she didn't end up signing it.
This is this.
I'm not saying.
Well, I want to make some corrections on it, so it's definitely, okay.
That's mine.
Is it your?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, let me crucify
Oh,
you.
Lord.
Okay, here you go, down to contract and listing. Okay, you got a document there, occupancy agreement, full final, then you got a buyer possession before closing. And all that is before you get to your contract, offer to purchase, then the buyer last name correction, the amendment. So see how it's all mixed up, it's just a conglomeration. First of all, occupancy agreement is not the name of it. Not to be nitpicky, but it's better to go ahead and name it the buyer possession before closing agreement, right there. See, now,
Right.
click on buyer possession before closing next.
So, all right.
Okay, that's fine. So you can sign it.
It is signed.
Okay. Oh, it is yours.
It is
Okay,
mine.
okay, back up. Well, that wasn't on there when I looked at it this morning.
That's, you know, I told you sit there now. I want to get paid.
But, okay, so, now look at it, offer to purchase. Now look, you got a buyer's last name correction 1 and 2. That's not wrong. I want it all together.
I think it is all together here.
So how do you put that together?
The
Yeah,
final.
yeah.
Scan.
I think
We're gonna scan it all.
I'll have to pick on that. As a matter of fact, they're doing a lot better than they did, let's say, 2 weeks ago. Good, Al, good, yeah.
What's that?
A lot better than they said 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I started cracking
Hey,
down.
I was guilty of it too. I mean, this is, I'm in this boat too. This isn't, I mean, I know I'm there too. This is something, I mean, I didn't get paid yesterday.
He don't remember it.
Every time I get to be balls.
So, and it's the right way to go about it. So.
But now, go back up there.
But yeah, those two need to be merged, and I don't know how to do it within this system. To tell you the truth, I didn't even know you could do it within this system, because I have a system that I use.
Who said you can?
I'm not sure I exactly can show you right now, but I'll do it. But see, I don't do this, y'all, much. I do it another way, so. But I do know this stuff. Now, see this occupancy agreement full time? There's not a form since that it's called occupancy agreement full time.
No, it's not. But I had to, this is the one that I had to merge several pages together. I had to rotate it. And every time I did, my program made me name something different.
Okay,
So what I need to do is rename this.
we need to name it what it's supposed to be named, like another one.
Lord have mercy.
In full final, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, full and final.
Full and final.
We're feeling your pain.
Okay, there you
Well,
go.
I know, I'm gonna be the bad guy when we leave, but that's okay. How number it goes.
Is that
Understand why I'm struggling.
What is that possession?
Okay, prior.
Prior, here, prior.
Okay.
Prior.
Okay.
But we gotta spell it right too, because you can get mad about that.
I don't get mad, I just don't get it right. Now go over there to buyer possession before closing, go over here and exit. Exit and then go over here to the little, arrow, Dave.
Which one down there?
Exit on
The
the
insect, right?
This one?
That's not signed, right?
That's not signed, archive.
Archive.
Right.
Now see how it's out of the way now.
Right.
He doesn't see it, I don't see it. But if he wants to see it, all he's got to do is go up there and say show archive. And if you archive something by mistake, you can, it's not gone forever, it's in there, but you don't see it, I don't see it. And the best thing is I don't see it, that makes me happy.
Right.
Oh, I know, the activity log. If you click on activity log, there's an example.
If you click on the outside of the loop,
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
if you do it outside of the loop, it's going to tell you all your activity.
I know, that's the part I need
That's-
help with all this. Make your mind walk.
Yeah, that'll tell you everything.
Well, part of the reason for doing this is because if you've got it in this format, it doesn't matter what that activity log says. Whether it tracks what you did or not. If you've got these documents in this order and you click that one and you check it, you look at it, and everything's signed like it needs to be, you know you don't need to touch it again. You look at that one, everything's signed like it needs to be, you don't have to touch it again.
So if you
Verify
want-
everyone's right, then hit submit for review, and it doesn't matter what the activity
And
log
there's
says.
gonna be an exception to this. You see a residential property owners association, well, when it's in your listing folder, it's only signed by the seller. Well, it's got to again appear in your contract folder, it's got to be signed by both. But leave it in the other folder, the way it came, that shows you that you listed first. But it goes fully signed in the second.
Well, then in other words, don't mess with the activity log up at the top. Get in the loop and look at it.
That, yeah,
Yeah, that's the first one. I've never even looked, I have
But
never
don't-
clicked that button as long as I've been doing documents.
It's confusing.
And what a lot of the agents are doing, and I love this, they make another folder. You can make all the folders you want, I don't care how many you put, as long as you got those. But they make another folder and just say additional documents, and anything else they can put in there, they just scan it, put it in there. And that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a real good idea.
See, if you're slow like me, I picture this as my file, as my paper file. So this is just how my brain works. I like to keep things very, very simple. So I know this is my paper file. I know I got to work with real estate agents in there. If it were a paper file, I would open it up, I would look at it, make sure all the signatures were there. So in my mind, I think of this as a paper file. I open up that document, I scroll through it, and if all the signatures are there, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't ever look at the activity log. All I know is I got to look at that document, make sure it's right, and submit it for review. And that just keeps it simple for me.
You know, when we only did paper files, I always had a file for everything that concerns inspections,
Mhm.
yet within that one file. So, you know, I had it all lined up right on, when you can do it on paper.
Mhm. Well, this is no different than
I
paper.
know.
And that's how I process, that's why I process it that way. If I wanted my inspection in here, I would have a miscellaneous file, and I would load the inspection in there.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
honestly, I've never, before today, I've never clicked on activity log not once.
But look, don't ever do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I have it, because for me, I think of this as a paper file,
Yeah.
and as long as I know the papers are correct, then what else really do I need?
Are you going to task it on?
Not today.
Oh,
But
we
y'all,
don't do
doesn't it
that.
make a lot of sense though? And doesn't it seem easy?
Well, it does, if you know what you're doing. Everything's always easy when you know what you're doing.
Well, I,
And the reason we're not gonna do task or activity log or merge documents is because this is what the commission requires to be correct. And if we got this stuff correct, we're all set.
Yeah.
We can dig into the nuts and bolts after today, but today was to make sure we get this correct, so when we
What's the
get
name of that
that
thing you use, PDF field?
image writer.
Image writer.
Yeah, I'll send that link out.
Okay.
It was very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Very, very good.
Well, we wouldn't be where we are if I'd cracked down a little bit earlier, but I didn't say.
Well, I'm afraid you're too kind.
Well, I'm going to help everybody get their stuff. Maybe, you
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
Tim, I think, can you move the order on the board?
Well, see, the one I did.
Yeah.
You just
And the tech, you can do it within here just by dragging and dropping.
Yeah, I know it there, but.
Not in the template that I'm aware of.
I had a good idea how to do it, but I don't know where to get it.
Well, the main thing that bothers me is, I like the forms saying what they're supposed to be, but now that doesn't get me all bent out of shape. But I don't like, you gotta put together a contract from 4 different